He wraps his hand around the newborn's arm and pulls. The baby shrieks. Outside, sirens stack on top of sirens until it sounds like the whole city is on fire. 40 officers have the building boxed in. A megaphone cuts through the glass. Blueface, step outside. Hands where we can see them. And the first words out of his mouth are not about his son, not about the mother of his child standing 10 feet from a drawn weapon. The first words are, "Is the camera getting this?" Welcome back to the channel. Another day, another Blueface livestream, except this one ends with a rapper on his knees in his own parking lot, while his 4-day-old son watches the whole thing through a restaurant window. You have seen the clips everywhere this week. You have not heard what actually happened between them. And I promise you, by the end of this video, you will understand exactly why those sirens were not the craziest part of his day. So let's walk through the entire stream, in order, because the order matters. Naturally, Blueface opens with his favorite subject, the one he circles back to like a compulsion, postpartum. He wonders out loud whether Nevaeh is dealing with it, framing her exhaustion like a diagnosis he'd get to hand down. The baby is fussy. She will not set him down, not even for a second, and he narrates this to the chat like he has caught her committing a crime. Because apparently a mother bonding with a newborn is suspicious behavior now. And look, I'm not a doctor, but I do know how to read, and the reading on this one is not complicated. A woman 4 days out of childbirth is not dealing with something. She is healing. Her body just spent 9 months building a human being, and then pushed that human being out into the world, and the hormones that kept the whole operation running do not just switch off because the baby is on the outside now. They crash. They spike. They do backflips. Every medical professional on earth will tell you the same thing. The first week postpartum is a war zone, and the woman fighting in it is doing it on no sleep, on a body that is actively repairing itself, with a tiny screaming creature attached to her chest around the clock. So when Blueface sits there diagnosing her exhaustion like he is reading a chart he did not study, understand that he is not observing a problem. He is describing the most normal thing in the history of mammals. She explains the situation calmly. She is exhausted. She has not had a real moment to herself in days. All she wants is one shower, one single shower, and she is asking the father of her child to hold their son for 15 minutes so she can stand under hot water like a human being. Blueface looks at her like she asked him to donate a kidney. "You are not asking me to hold any baby," he says. "Get your shower." And she keeps pushing, because of course she keeps pushing, and his position stays exactly the same. Why does somebody need to hold the baby while you shower? Put him down. She tries logic. If I put him down, he cries. He could sleep for 10 minutes and wake up screaming. And I cannot hear him screaming while I am in there, because then I do not know what is happening to him. His answer, delivered with total confidence. So you get out of the shower and pick him up. What is the problem? Makes perfect sense, right? Because every woman dreams of standing there mid-shampoo, conditioner untouched, dripping on the tile, sprinting across the house because the man sitting 2 rooms away cannot be bothered to lift an 8-pound infant. And before anyone types that babies cry and it builds character, sure, in a vacuum, that is true. But this is not a vacuum. This is a woman who gave birth 96 hours ago. Her hormones are in a blender. Her body is still healing. Every instinct she has is wired to sprint toward that crying sound. Maybe that is precisely why she asked for help in the first place, so she would not have to hear it and panic. Let me do the math out loud, because the math is insulting. She is asking for 15 minutes. 900 seconds. Out of a 24-hour day, she wants 900 seconds where she is not the only adult in the house responsible for a 4-day-old infant. That is less than 1% of the day. And the response she gets is not, of course, go, take your time. The response is a negotiation, then a refusal, then a lecture. And the man delivering that lecture has, by his own admission, been sitting in front of a camera for hours, which is apparently a job that cannot be interrupted. But holding a baby for a quarter of an hour is an unreasonable demand. The entitlement is so thick you could cut it with a knife. And the worst part is he genuinely does not hear himself. He thinks he is being logical. He thinks put him down is a solution and not an abdication. But then again, who is she to request anything? Because Blueface has a whole list of grievances ready to go, and the next one is a doozy. She is not sleeping with him. For days after delivering his child. He says it out loud, on stream, like a complaint about room service. You are not giving it up for 6 weeks. You are not cooking and cleaning. Where's the good in this? She fires back that she has been cooking all night, that there is literally food waiting, and his response is to bark at her to go get his plate. Twice. 3 times. Go get my plate. She just delivered a human being. Doctors tell you to wait 6 weeks for a reason, tearing, infection, another pregnancy back-to-back. Basic medical reality. None of that registers. In his world, availability is the default setting and recovery is an excuse. And the part that stuns me is not even that he said it. It is that she went. She walked into that kitchen and made the plate. I would have returned with the plate at a velocity, but that is a different video. So now Blueface is sitting there eating the food she cooked while holding the baby he refused to hold, and somewhere between bites, he has a revelation. He has connected the dots. All this affection Nevaeh shows the kids, all this holding and soothing, this is the problem. This is why Superior, their older son, is the way he is. Too attached. Too loving. Always wanting to be near them. I can see why Superior is the way he is, he tells the chat. She holds the baby all day. And when the chat pushes back, because even his own audience has a floor, he doubles down. You are all slow. All she is doing is creating another one of those. My son is not going to grow up running around telling people to pick him up all day. Did you catch that? The crime is a 4-year-old who loves his parents. The dysfunction he is diagnosing is called attachment, and every child psychologist on the planet would tell you it is the goal, not the disease. But in this house, a kid who feels safe around his own mother is a manufacturing defect, and Nevaeh is the faulty assembly line. Let me talk to you about attachment for a second, because this is the part of the stream that actually matters, and it is the part nobody clips. Attachment theory is not some TikTok buzzword. It is one of the most studied concepts in developmental psychology, and the findings have been consistent for decades. When a child learns that their parent will respond to their needs, that child develops what the researchers call a secure attachment. They feel safe. They explore the world with confidence. They grow up with better emotional regulation, better relationships, better mental health. The child who cries and gets picked up is not being spoiled. They are being taught that the world is a place where their needs will be met. That is the entire foundation of a healthy human being. And Blueface is standing in his kitchen, on camera, telling thousands of people that this is the problem. That a 4-year-old who wants to be near his parents is broken. That the fix is to put him down and let him cry. He is not just wrong. He is wrong in the exact way that produces the thing he claims to be afraid of. You cannot withhold affection from a child, and then be surprised when that child grows up anxious, insecure, and desperate for attention. The cure he is prescribing is the disease. Now, while he is busy red-pilling himself about the dangers of maternal bonding, he notices something else. Superior is asleep, and Blueface decides the boy needs to wake up. Nevaeh says no. Let him sleep. Simple. Reasonable. A sentence spoken in every household on Earth. But Blueface hears an opening. Oh, let him sleep? Interesting. Let's talk about sleep. Let's talk about how you never let me sleep. And now we are off, because he has a whole archive of wounds to unbox. She wakes him up to ask questions. She tells him to come to bed when he falls asleep on the couch. Sometimes, brace yourself, she sits next to him with the baby while he is resting. Imagine the audacity. A woman, alone with 2 children, one of them 4 days old, occasionally requiring her partner to be conscious. How is a man supposed to recover under these conditions? How else is he going to summon the energy to park himself in front of a camera for 10 straight hours and lecture the internet about women? That takes stamina. That takes rest. And here is the pattern, the thing you need to see if you want to understand the whole day. Every single one of his grievances is a transaction. She woke him up, so he gets to wake the kid up. She asked him to hold the baby, so she owes him something. She is not sleeping with him, so she is failing to deliver on her end of a deal she never signed. Everything is a ledger. Everything has to balance. And the currency is control. He is not actually angry about being woken up. He is angry that anything in that house happens without his permission, including a 4-year-old's nap. So when Nevaeh tells him to let the boy sleep, she is not just protecting her son. She is committing the one unforgivable crime in that household. She is setting a boundary, and he cannot allow a boundary to stand. So Blueface does what any fully grown father would do. He reaches over and starts flicking at his sleeping 4-year-old. Wake up! Wake up! Wake up! Nevaeh detonates. She tells him, clearly, this is the 3rd time, and if he touches that boy again it is over. She will never wake him up for anything ever again. He can rot on the couch for all she cares. And Blueface, calm as a summer morning, replies that this is all he ever wanted. She can leave him wherever he falls asleep. Perfect. Then, 3 seconds later, the mask slips, and the actual logic comes out. Oh, so I cannot wake him up, but you can wake me up 3 times? There it is. The math. A grown man was inconvenienced, so a preschooler has to pay the invoice. Totally balanced scales. Everyone follows that reasoning, right? But she is not following it. She is furious. She is storming around gathering up every complaint she has ever swallowed, and Blueface decides he is simply above it all. He announces, with the gravity of a world leader, that he is not speaking to her for the rest of the day. The silent treatment. From a man who monetizes talking. And here is where I have to be honest with you. I cannot imagine her suffering. An entire afternoon without a stream of nonsense aimed at her head? That is not punishment. That is a spa day. If ignoring her is the weapon, she should be praying he reloads. But let me be serious for a second, because the silent treatment is one of those things we joke about and should not. It is not a harmless little sulk. It is a control tactic, and it is on the list of behaviors that relationship experts flag as emotional abuse. The point of the silent treatment is not to take a break and cool down. The point is to punish the other person for not complying, to make them feel invisible, to train them that disagreeing with you means losing access to you entirely. And the reason it works so well on someone like Nevaeh is that she is already isolated. She is 4 days postpartum. She is in a house with a man who berates her. She has a camera on her face all day, and now the one adult in the room is pretending she does not exist. That is not a spa day. That is the slow drip of a very specific kind of cruelty. I joked about it a second ago because the joke is how we cope, but do not mistake the joke for the truth. The truth is that this is a man weaponizing silence against a woman who just had his baby. For about 15 minutes, he commits. She says a word here or there. He looks at her, looks back at his phone, says nothing. Extremely grown behavior. The kind of conflict resolution they teach at Harvard. Then a problem emerges. Blueface wants to see his son, but he cannot ask, because asking would break the vow, and the vow is sacred. So instead of speaking, he just reaches for the baby. And here is the thing you need to understand about what happens next. He does not slide his hands under the baby. He does not support the head. He grabs the newborn by one arm and pulls, like he is hoisting a duffel bag out of the trunk. The baby, who had been whimpering, immediately escalates to a full scream. Because of course he does. Newborns are famously durable. Everyone knows that. You can grab them by whatever limb is closest. They love it. No doctor has ever once suggested otherwise. Nevaeh loses it, and Blueface, still committed to the silence, keeps half-answering her in this broken third-person loop, insisting nothing happened. The baby is fine. What? Is he going to break? And then, catching himself mid-sentence, he remembers he is not talking to her and goes quiet again. The vow survived. The baby's shoulder is apparently an acceptable casualty. Let me just say the obvious thing, because it needs to be said in plain words. A newborn's body is not a toy. Their joints are loose, their muscles are not developed, their heads are heavy and their necks are weak, and the way you pick them up matters. You support the head. You support the body. You do not grab them by one arm and yank, because that is how shoulders get dislocated, how tiny fragile bodies get injured, and how a 4-day-old human being learns, at the very start of his life, that the person who is supposed to protect him is a source of pain. The scream that baby let out was not dramatic. It was the only language he has, and the message was clear. And the man holding him heard that scream and did not stop. He did not adjust. He did not apologize. He argued about whether anything even happened. Another 20 minutes crawled past in dead silence. 2 adults, 1 newborn, 1 live audience, 0 conversation. Then Blueface decides the embargo has served its purpose, and he reopens diplomatic relations with the most urgent question of the day. Where are the pacifiers? Nevaeh tells him she does not want to use them yet. The baby is days old. He is still learning to breastfeed. A pacifier this early can interfere with that. This is not fringe science. This is the pamphlet they hand you at the hospital. Blueface, peer-reviewed scholar that he is, informs her that she invented that. You just made that up, he says. What are you even talking about? And this is the moment the whole afternoon tips over. Because one day earlier, on this same stream, Blueface made a public promise. He told the chat he was done calling Nevaeh out of her name. A week of respect, that was the pledge. It lasted until the pacifier drawer. He calls her the B word. Once. Twice. Then it is every other sentence. Where are the pacifiers? Why would you buy pacifiers and not use them? That makes no sense. B word this. B word that. The promise did not survive 24 hours. The promise barely survived a sentence. And this is the thing about promises made on stream. They are not private. They are not between 2 people in a kitchen. They are made in front of an audience, which means they are performance, and performance has a built-in expiration date. The week of respect was never a commitment to Nevaeh. It was a content beat. It was something to say to the chat so the chat could clip it and caption it and call it growth. And then the moment it became inconvenient, the moment a real conflict showed up, the promise evaporated, because the promise was never load-bearing. It was set dressing. The man who promised a week of respect could not last a single sentence before the name-calling came back, and that tells you everything about what his word is worth. Nothing. His word is worth exactly as much as a pacifier he will not let his own son use. Nevaeh, to her credit, finally swings at the real target. She tells him he switches up the second the cameras come on, that the man she sees off-stream is not this man. And Blueface says something so revealing that I want you to sit with it. He does not deny the behavior. He denies the switch. His defense, his actual defense, is that the cameras are never off. We stream 12 hours a day, he says. I wake up, the camera is on. How could I be different when the camera never turns off? Think about what he just admitted. For months, the going theory, the charitable theory, was that this was performance. Manufactured chaos for engagement. I believe that too. I wanted to believe it, because the alternative is worse. But he just closed that door himself. If the camera is always on, then there is no character. There is no act. What we are watching, 10 and 12 hours a day, is not content. It is surveillance footage of who he actually is. Nevaeh has finally had enough. She storms off camera, and you can hear her yelling somewhere in the distance while Blueface mutters justifications at a volume calibrated for her to half hear. The chat, predictably, is in a frenzy, hyping him, telling him he is the one with the money, the house, the power, and she should be grateful. Let me talk about the chat for a minute, because the chat is not a background detail. The chat is a character in this story, and it is the worst character. Every time Blueface says something indefensible, the chat is there to tell him he is right. Every time Nevaeh pushes back, the chat is there to tell him she is ungrateful. The chat is a machine that converts his worst impulses into validation, and it runs 24 hours a day. And the people in that chat are not monsters. Most of them are probably kids, or bored adults, or people who genuinely think this is entertainment and not a real family falling apart in real time. But the effect is the same. The chat is the fuel. It is the reason he keeps going. The reason he never has to sit with a single consequence. Because the moment doubt creeps in, there are 10,000 strangers telling him he is the king and she should be grateful. The chat is not watching the abuse. The chat is participating in it. And then, with no warning, the entire register of the stream flips. This man who has spent hours berating the mother of his newborn goes quiet and gets philosophical. Money is not everything, he tells us. It will not buy you peace. Look at me. I have the house, the cars, the money, the baby, and I am still sitting here trying to figure out what actually makes me happy. You can have every resource on earth, he says, and still go to sleep crying every night. And here is the uncomfortable part. He is not wrong. That is a true thing he is saying. But notice what it does. After hours of watching him behave like this, suddenly we are being invited to feel sorry for him. The man with everything, broken inside. It is the oldest pivot in the book, and it works on his audience every single time, because 3 minutes after the tears, he decides to do something nice. He walks over to Nevaeh and asks her, what would make you happy right now? Name anything. As if the last 3 hours were a weather event and not a series of choices he personally made. She does not ask for jewelry. She does not ask for a vacation. She says she wants to take the kids to the park. And to his credit, for once, he agrees. Whole family, park, picnic, cheers her up, because in his words she has been too mopey for him all day. Nobody wants to wake up to a mopey woman. What a prince. Truly the bar is subterranean. Notice what she asked for. Not money. Not a gift. Not a single material thing. She asked to take her children to a park. That is the entire wish list of a woman who has been run ragged for 4 days. A park. Some grass. Some fresh air. The bar for what would make her happy is so low it is underground, and he still managed to frame agreeing to it as a favor he is doing her because she has been too mopey. Mopey. That is the word he chose for a woman 4 days postpartum who spent the afternoon being called out of her name on camera. And the audience eats it up, because the audience has been trained to think that a man agreeing to take his own family to a park is an act of heroism. That is where we are. That is the standard. A man doing the absolute minimum is celebrated like he cured something. But if you have watched enough of these streams, you know the peace cannot hold. It is structurally impossible. Blueface cannot exist inside a pleasant moment without kicking a hole in it. So while everyone is getting ready, spirits finally lifting, he spots Superior on the bed. And his idea of a fun send-off is to grab the 4-year-old by the ankles and dangle him upside down until the boy is sobbing. Nevaeh is screaming at him to put him down. Put him down now. He keeps going. Why are you crying? He keeps asking, while actively being the reason. He mocks him, calls him a little girl. And then, mid-taunt, the detail that made my stomach drop. The boy says his nose is bleeding. Blueface announces to the chat that it is not bleeding, calls him dramatic, and then, on camera, in real time, you can hear the correction. Oh, now it is. His nose is bleeding. The 4-year-old's nose is bleeding. And the stream just rolls right past it. No pause. No acknowledgement. We are simply going to pretend that did not happen, the same way we pretend everything else on this channel does not happen. Now they are in the car, finally headed to the park, and Nevaeh, the woman who gave birth 4 days ago and spent all day being told her exhaustion is an attitude problem, leans her seat back and closes her eyes. Instantly, The chat starts diagnosing her. She is nodding off. She is on pills. They saw her popping them earlier. Drug test her. Blueface does not defend her. He lets it run. And here are the facts, because facts matter on this channel even when they are inconvenient for everyone else. She took nothing. She was on stream the entire day. The pill bottle his audience keeps citing as evidence is the ibuprofen the hospital prescribed her after delivery. Postpartum pain medication. The smoking gun is legally distributed Motrin. Let me be very clear about what happened here, because it is a perfect little case study in how misinformation works in real time. A woman who gave birth 4 days ago leans her seat back in a car and closes her eyes. That is the entire incident. That is all the evidence there is. And from that single, completely normal act, the chat constructs a full conspiracy. She is on drugs. She is nodding off. They saw her popping pills. Someone should drug test her. And Blueface, who knows the truth, who was there, who saw her take the ibuprofen the hospital gave her, says nothing. He lets the lie run. Because the lie is good for engagement, and engagement is the only god in that car. The facts do not matter. The truth does not matter. What matters is that the chat has something to be outraged about, and he is not going to be the one to turn off the outrage. A woman's reputation is being shredded in real time over legally prescribed pain medication, and the man who could stop it with one sentence just watches. That is not negligence. That is a choice. They get to the park, and for a stretch, it is almost disorienting, because it is genuinely sweet. Nevaeh on a blanket with the newborn, Superior running around with his dad, actual laughter. Blueface walks over and gets soft again. Anything you need, he tells her. You just ask me. I will make it happen, and if I cannot make it happen, I will get as close as I possibly can. She thanks him. He thanks her for their son, for blessing his life. And I need you to understand what you are watching in these 90 seconds, because it is the entire business model. This clip right here is the one that gets chopped up, captioned, and fed to the internet as Blueface the devoted family man. Blueface surprises Nevaeh with a picnic. Blueface proving the haters wrong. The fans who ride for him clip the rainbow and crop out the storm. But you stayed for the whole stream. You know the picnic cost 3 hours of humiliation, one bleeding nose, and a baby yanked by the arm. Context is everything, and context is the one thing those clips will never show you. Eventually Nevaeh wants out of the heat. She wants air conditioning and crab legs. Convenient, because Blueface owns a seafood spot, King of Crabs, so that is the move. They get there, they order, she is setting up her oysters, and then it starts. Sirens. Distant at first. She glances out the window and tries to ignore it. She picks up an oyster. More sirens. She looks again. That is a lot of cops. Blueface looks, and his reaction tells you everything about the life he lives now. There is no fear, no confusion. He just says, almost cheerfully, we are getting swatted. And his second sentence is not are the kids okay. It is turn the camera around. Get this. Clip this. Before we go any further, I need to explain what swatting actually is, because a lot of people throw the word around without understanding the stakes. Swatting is not a prank call. It is not a harmless troll. It is when someone calls emergency services and reports a fake violent crime at a victim's address, with the specific goal of getting a heavily armed police response sent to that address. The caller says there is a hostage situation, or a shooting, or a bomb, and the police respond like it is real, because they have to. They show up with rifles, with tactical gear, with the assumption that someone inside is dangerous. And people have died from this. Innocent people, at their own front doors, shot by officers who were told they were walking into an active threat. Swatting is an attempt to get someone killed by proxy, and the person pulling the trigger never has to be in the room. That is what was happening outside the restaurant. That is what Blueface recognized instantly, because it has happened to him so many times that he can identify it by the sound of the sirens. And his reaction, the very first reaction, was not fear for his family. It was content. Turn the camera around. Get this. Clip this. A man who has been swatted enough times to know the drill is still, after all of it, thinking about the footage first. That tells you exactly what kind of life this is. What follows is somehow one of the most aggravating sequences I have ever watched. His cameraman, whose entire job description is holding a camera, takes what feels like a geological era to rotate it toward the window. Blueface is shouting at him. The chat is screaming. The man is fumbling with lights, and 40 police officers are assembling outside, while this one employee treats the moment like he is defusing a bomb. For one shining second I understood every time Blueface has ever yelled at his staff, and I hated him for making me understand. Outside, the parking lot is wall-to-wall law enforcement. The megaphone comes on. Blueface, come out. Hands up. Back toward us. And here is the wildest part. He complies like a man checking out of a hotel. Take my phone, he tells somebody. Stay in there. He strolls out, hands up, walks backward, drops to his knees when they tell him, chats with them through it. The officers, for their part, already know him. One of them literally says it on a hot mic. "We know you get swatted a lot. Take your time. Let that sentence land." The local police have a routine for this man. They know the drill because it keeps happening. Swatting is not a prank. It is an attempt to get someone killed by proxy. And whoever keeps making these calls is sending armed men into rooms that contain a 4-day-old baby. And now the part that genuinely, sincerely broke my brain. The officers start clearing the restaurant, and they call Nevaeh out next. And she walks toward a perimeter of drawn weapons carrying the newborn in her arms. I have defended that woman all day, but I will die on this hill. That was the one moment in recorded history to put the baby down. She had a car seat. She had people she trusted inside. Superior stayed inside with them. The officers are asking everyone to show their hands, and she is walking into a gunpoint standoff with an infant strapped to her chest. One officer visibly wrestles with it. You can see him raise his weapon toward her, catch himself, lower it, and then, protocol winning out over common sense, raise it again. A gun, pointed at a mother holding a 4-day-old baby, over a phone call. That image should be on the front page of every conversation about swatting, because this is how it ends someday. Not with a clip, with a headline. They check her, they sit everyone down, and here is where the stream becomes genuinely historic, because nobody's mic cut off. Blueface gets placed near a patrol car, and from his seat he can see the investigation on the officer's screen. So he reads the fake 911 call out loud, live, to thousands of people. The caller claimed Blueface, real name Jonathan Porter, had punched his fiancée in the face at his business. That there was a witness. That it was seen on the live stream. A closed eye, a bleeding nose. And then the escalation that turned a domestic call into a 40-officer response. The caller claimed shots had been fired. 5 times. None of it happened. Not one word of it. And yet for the next 40 minutes, an entire restaurant gets processed like a crime scene. Workers who barely speak English, who came in to fry fish and go home, get walked out at gunpoint one by one while Blueface tries to explain to the officers that these are just his employees. Families who were sitting down to dinner get separated and questioned. 6 or 7 people, 40 minutes, in a restaurant that was not even busy. No rush, no urgency, just a slow parade of terrified, innocent people while the cops figure out what the internet already knew. It was fake. Read that call back to yourself. A man punched his fiancée in the face. A closed eye. A bleeding nose. A witness. Seen on the live stream. And then shots fired 5 times. The caller did not just make up a crime. The caller made up a crime that was specifically designed to sound real, using details that would check out on a quick search, because this family's life is broadcast 12 hours a day, and anyone can mine it for ammunition. The closed eye, the bleeding nose, the live stream, the fiancé, all of it was pulled from the public record of this family's private misery and repackaged as a 911 call. That is the truly evil part. The swatter did not have to know these people. The swatter just had to watch the same streams we all watch, and then weaponize what they saw. And the result was 40 armed officers, a restaurant full of terrified innocent people, and a 4-day-old baby in the middle of a fake crime scene. All because somebody, somewhere, thought it would be funny. Meanwhile, Nevaeh's mic is still hot, and even in the middle of a police detention, she is accidentally the funniest person on the stream, knocking on the window of the patrol car, trying to get someone to bring Superior to her, baffled that nobody can hear her, asking if the windows are bulletproof. Eventually, the truth wins. No victim, no weapon, no crime, just a live stream and a lie. They release everyone one at a time. And as an officer walks Blueface back inside, apologizing for the ordeal, doing the standard just doing our job speech, we get the exchange that this entire video has been building toward. The officer asks, "So no arguments between you two today?" "Nothing like that." And Blueface answers, "Not even close. Not even close. Sir, you spent the afternoon calling her the B-word on camera. You dangled her son upside down until his nose bled. You told a woman 4 days postpartum that her only value is what she puts on a plate or provides in bed. But no arguments. Not even close." And then he says it himself, the sentence that should haunt every one of these streams. It is all on live. The evidence is right there. He is correct. It is all on live. Every bit of it. 12 hours a day, every day, archived forever, and still, somehow, nothing changes, nothing sticks, no one intervenes, and the stream just starts again tomorrow morning. The camera is always on. He told us that himself. And I am starting to believe the camera being always on is the only reason any of this behavior survives scrutiny, because we have all been trained to file abuse under content as long as there is a chat scrolling next to it. So here is my one shred of hope, and I admit it is a conspiracy theory of my own making. Maybe Nevaeh is not the fool she plays on camera. Maybe she is documenting. Maybe she is building something. Every day I believe that a little less, but I am holding on to it. Because the alternative is that this is simply her life now, and a 4-day-old baby is going to grow up thinking that duffel bag grip is what a father's hands are for. They went back inside. They finished the crab legs. They drove home. And nobody got arrested, because there was nothing to arrest anyone for, at least not on that call. So tell me in the comments, and I mean really tell me, because this one splits my audience every time. Was she wrong for carrying that baby out to the police, or was she right to keep him in her arms no matter what? And the bigger question, the one nobody wants to touch, at what point does the audience, us, everyone who clipped and shared and laughed, become part of why those 40 cops showed up in the first place? Somebody made that call to be a part of this show. Somebody in a chat somewhere thought 5 shots fired was a funny thing to type into a police report. I will keep watching so you do not have to sit through 12 hours of it. If you want the next update the second it drops, you know what to do. Subscribe, hit the bell, and like this video, because it genuinely helps more than you realize. And if there is another story out there you need me to dig into, drop the name below. I read everything. Stay safe out there. Watch your backs. I love you all, and I will see you very, very soon. Until then, stay sharp.